What is up? It's Andy. It's Monday, and it's a sports bettor's paradise. You know this. I've been spending most of life. It's a sports bettor's paradise because you're not in the red. I mean, you're not in the green, but you're not in the red. And that's an important thing as we start on this Monday, because as the weekend went on, I got good news to report. I heated up big time, and I know if you're a person just watching this, new to these videos, you're go, oh, anyone, I can say that too. Oh yeah, guess what? When we didn't go out that one time and I went out by myself, oh, I picked up every single girl at the bar when you weren't there. I got receipts to prove it. We got people who benefited from the sniffs, and this in no way, shape, or form is this saying like, oh, all I'm trying to let you know is I'm coming into Monday with nice confidence from Saturday and Sunday, which happened to be April 1st and 2nd. I mean, April Fool's Day was April 1st. It made sense that a fool such as myself started to get things going on the 1st and the 2nd. Maybe March was just a rusty month with a lot of ruckus. But now we've talked about teams who are desperate for points. Teams are now desperate for points, and it's starting to show. Those teams who have really needed it, you've taken those Panthers, you've taken those Jets, you've taken those teams, the Flames, who really needed it. They're not screwing you as much anymore because they've run out of runway, and now it's like basically win or go home, and we've been able to use that to our benefit. Speaking of bets, how about last week? Remember when you guys were all upset, and by you, I do mean you, it wasn't we, because the Avalanche lost to Minnesota. You're like, oh, come on, you know what, Andy, this whole Colorado thing. Oh, yeah, really? Well, what's happened a couple days later? A mere couple days later, Colorado follows up. They played great once again on their home ice, just as they did. That win-o-meter showed they should have beat the Wild. But Gustafsson played incredible. They lost that game. Couple days later, Minnesota goes on the road to Vegas, loses. Colorado wins at home against Dallas, and they trail them by 1 point with a game in hand. And if you look at who's projected to win the division, oh, what do you know? It's the Colorado Avalanche. Don't ever forget, the Lightning were down 0-2 to the Rangers, and every single person in the comment section, what do you do? Give it up, Andy. Give it up. You don't know what you're talking about. You just can't give it up. You came here, you said the Lightning, and now you just need to admit it. You're wrong. No, you were all wrong, and you went home. I never lost faith. You never had your car. So why don't we take a look at some of these Monday bets, because we got a rematch between those Minnesota Wild and Vegas, and this time it's in Minnesota, and to say that a lot is on the line is kind of an understatement. So the first thing that I'm going to tell you about that game is I don't think there's going to be a lot of goals. And in games where I don't think there are not going to be a lot of goals, those are the ones that I tend to take under half of a point on certain players. And where can you really take advantage of that? Bet365. Bet365, one of the reasons that I like it, I know this sounds like one of the reasons I love it is because it's all chocolatey on the inside. No, but you can combine under on point totals with money lines, with totals. On Caesars, we had to figure out who was going to get a point. Rather than if you thought a game was going to be a 2-1 rusty one like the Islanders Carolina yesterday, in games like that, take the under on Bo Horvat registering a point, combine it with Carolina. But you can't do that there, but you can on Bet365. And they got a promotion where if you bet $1 on anything, you bet it on this Wild game, any combo, your account's going to be credited with $200 in free bet credits if you're a new user on Bet365 and you're located in a state or province where sports betting is permitted. But you do have to be over 21, no fake IDs trying to sneak into the club. And if you got a problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. So looking at this game, I'll get back to that same game parlay in a second, because my favorite bet, the meat and potatoes that I saw, at night, maybe it's going to be down by the time you see this, but is the under 6.5. Between the Minnesota Wild and the Vegas Golden Knights. Last game, they started Fleury on the road. Like, oh yeah, he's going to play his old team in Vegas and it's going to be great. Yeah, well, they lost the game. Now they're going back to their true horse, Gustafsson. And if you watch that Colorado game, you know all about him. He is right behind Ullmark in save percentage, goals against. He's incredible. Part of the reason we've been on the Wild this second half of the season, for the most part, until the Kaprizov injury, was because of that defense. But it wasn't just the defense. It was the fact that they had this guy in net. And the way he's playing, I find it hard to believe that any team is going to go in there and score a whole bunch of goals on him. So I'm actually going to take the under 6.5. If you look at the game from the other night, That was a 3-1, late in the third, and then there was an empty netter. That one went under. I don't see Vegas scoring a ton of goals in this one, but I know they're going to be playing with confidence after beating them 4-1. It's going to be tough to predict who's actually going to win this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that 6.5, which is the meat and potatoes, the one I like the most. I'm going to combine it with some things. Let's take the under 6.5 and combine it with Vegas plus 2.5. That way, if this is a 3-2 trickler, which probably something tells me it's going to be like 2-2, go to overtime, one team's going to get the extra point. But if it's 2-2 or 3-2 in the third, let's say Minnesota's up 3-2 and then they score an empty netter 4-2. Oh yeah, that's right, you won. And this is like a plus 105 or even money bet. So that's under 6.5, Vegas plus 2.5. And because I truly don't know who's going to end up on top in this game, I know you just want to say Minnesota, but they just lost pretty handily to Vegas, although they were a little snake bit, hit a couple posts, didn't bury a couple other chances. Another variation I like if you're on the Minnesota side is Minnesota plus 1.5, under 5.5. And to me, it all just comes back to Gustafsson. He's at that level with me. Look, he ain't Vasilevsky, but I'm trusting him in unison with that Minnesota Wild defense to keep this one low scoring. I mean, I would be shocked if the Golden Knights put up 4.5 goals or they clear 4 goals or something like that, which is why we can return to that same game parlay. I want to take William Karlsson not to register a point. That's a half strategic sniff because he's on the second line. He's not on the top power play unit, and that second line is a little weakened. There's no Riley Smith, so it's kind of a lessened version of their second line because they actually use Stevenson on the third line and in the top power play. So he's going to have to do it with limited power play time and with, kind of subpar line mates on the second line on the road where he's not going to get the best matchups. So I think that's a strategic time to take the under on William Karlsson registering a point, and then you can combine that with the under 6.5 and potentially the plus 1.5 or plus 2.5 for either. That will give you, how about that? Wild plus 2.5, under 1.5 for Karlsson, and the under 6.5 for the game. That's a wacky ass bet, but that's the beautiful thing about Bet365. But for all you, some guys said you got to stop doing all these combos. I need raw dog picks. Is that a term? Is that a term I just haven't been aware of? Well, you need a raw dog pick under 6.5. All right. My God. Speaking of under 6.5. There's another game being played with immense amount of things on the line, and that's going to be Nashville taking on Dallas. Dallas, what are they playing for, you ask? Well, they're tied with the Avalanche in points, and the Avalanche have a game in hand. They lose this game, Avalanche now have 2 games in hand, and they're tied in points, so that means Dallas is essentially looking at being on the road for at least 2 rounds of the playoffs. That's essentially what this game means to them. Nashville, what does it mean to them? If they win their 2 games in hand that they have on Calgary and Winnipeg, they jump Calgary and are 1 point out of the playoffs. So you think this means something to them? Yeah, this means something to the both of these teams. And what does that mean? Clenched ass cheeks. I'm going under. And I believe in games like this. I mean, this is the case with Nashville. If Nashville has a lead, they're going to have 6 guys behind them. They'll bring in people off the bench. They'll bring in fans. They will stack that neutral zone and try to win the game. The best thing for an under 6.5 bet, I'm telling you right now, is Nashville to get the lead before the midway point of this game. However, I still like the under 6.5 because once you get to the third period in these games where teams really need points, they just don't take chances, and you're going to see this roll right over to the playoffs. You feel this? This is playoff me coming out. And you're going to get teams who don't want to make mistakes. They're going to play it off the boards, take the safe route. And I know we're not just at the playoffs yet, but like I told you, these teams are running out of runway and they need to win. And I think they're not going to take chances once they get to the nitty gritty and the crucial part of these games. So I'll take the under 6.5 in that one. And if you don't like that it's at minus, remember that prick that I told you about? The guy who just gets angry if any bet starts with the minus, then go ahead and combine that with the Seattle Kraken. Because what do they have to play for? Oh yeah, they're looking at teams nipping at their heels right now. I'm talking about 1 points, 2 points. They can see everyone right there. They can see all those Canadian teams. They can see, just like you can see Vancouver over the border up there where they are in Seattle, they can see Winnipeg, they can see Calgary. and they really need these points. And as far as Arizona goes, good. I'll clap for them. They had that run of like 10 games where they hit 10 straight, plus 1.5s. But then once they lost that game to Dallas, where Dallas hit that empty netter, I think that was Friday, probably screwed some of you. And then they lost that one, and then San Jose comes in there and cracks them. That's officially jig is up territory. The jig is up. Your great run is up. Who knows? Maybe they do keep it close, but all I need is a Seattle win, and I think we're going to get that with this game. So give me Seattle with the under 6.5. Or lastly, if you want to use a Caesars or Bet365 same game parlay, take the Seattle Kraken with McCann to register a point. I think he's the most likely guy to get on the board against Arizona at home. And those are the bets that I got for you on this Monday. Let's make it a good April. April's a beautiful month. It's because the playoffs start. I'm not even going to start talking about it yet because we have a couple days in between the end of the season and before the playoffs to talk strategy and what we're going to do. And so we'll get there in a few weeks, but let's focus on these 3 games first. Then we got a full slate Tuesday. I will see you then. Good luck to you. Better luck to me. What? Wait, who are you subscribed to? You're not subscribed to the OddsShopper channel, so why don't you do a favor for these guys? These guys dug me out of obscurity, put me on here for you. Subscribe to the OddsShopper channel. Come follow me on social media. It's at Andy Francis on all social media platforms. I prefer if you follow me on Instagram, so they give me more features over there. It's spelled just like the way you see it on your screen. I will be back with you tomorrow. Take it easy. I will see you then.